Hey there everybody, and welcome to our lesson on using unit rates with fractions. Quick overview real quick. We're going to do our notes page, and then we'll look at one or two problems from our assignment. And just so you know, on the assignment, you are responsible for the whole first page and then just the first four problems there. In other words, problems 1 through 12, and you cannot worry about the rest of them. So 13 through 20, you do not have to do. Okay, let's get started with those notes. So first, our I can statement. I'm sure you can guess what it's about to say since I just said it. I can compute unit rates using fractions. So this is going to be pretty much exactly what we did yesterday, except the numbers aren't going to be whole numbers. They're going to be fractions. So we're going to be dividing by some fractions today. And I'll give you a refresher on how to do that in case you've forgotten. First, let's look at the warm-up. It says find the unit rate for each situation. Maddie can do 19 problems in 4 minutes. So what is the information we're trying to figure out here? With this unit rate, we're trying to figure out how many problems can Maddie do in 1 minute. That would be her unit rate. So first let's set up our ratio. So we're going to do 19 on top because 19 problems, let's see, 19 problems per 4 minutes. She can do 19 problems. I cannot talk and write at the same time. Sorry, that's supposed to say minutes there. She can do 19 problems in 4 minutes. And what we want to know is how many problems she can do in 1 minute. So whichever number is going to become 1, in other words, the 4 here, that's the one that you're going to put on the bottom, okay? So we put our minutes on the bottom, and we know that we're going to turn this into something over 1. In order to get there, we're going to divide the top and the bottom by 4. How do I know that? Because I need to get the 4 to go to a 1. And how do I use multiplication or division to make a 4 into a 1? I divide by 4. I divide by itself. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. And whatever I do to that bottom number, I also have to do to the top number. So 19 divided by 4. And I don't know off the top of my head what it is. You could write 19 over 4, but it might be nice to make it into a decimal also. So let's do that. 19 divided by 4. Looks like that would be 4.75. So I'm going to put that there. 4.75 over 1. So it looks like Maddie can do 4.75 problems in 4 minutes. You could also write that as 4 3/4 of a problem. Both would be totally correct. Okay, so you get the idea on that one. Let's go on to B. It takes Josh 45 minutes to go 7 miles on his bike. So what information are we trying to figure out here? This one could kind of go both ways. But the way I'm seeing it is we want to figure out how many minutes does it take Josh to go 1 mile on his bike. Okay? So if we're trying to figure out how many minutes it takes him to go 1 mile on his bike, then we need to put the miles on the bottom, right? Because that's the number that's going to go to a 1. And then the 45 would go on top. 45 minutes for 7 miles. Now we're going to do our dividing to figure out our unit rate. Now this time, instead of writing it out as a fraction over 1, you've kind of picked up on the pattern here, right? It's always pretty much the top number divided by whatever was on the bottom. So let's just take a shortcut and do that right now. We're going to do 45 divided by 7. So the top number divided by the bottom number, and that is going to give us 6.4 something blah blah blah. I'm just going to write 6.4. So that means 6.4, and that indicates how many minutes it takes him to go 1 mile. So I'm just going to write minutes per mile. Okay? Now let's twist this around the other way. What if we wanted to figure out how many miles he could go in 1 minute? Okay, in this case, we need to put the minutes on bottom. Again, the number that's going to become a 1, that's the one that goes on the bottom. So if we want to know how many miles he could do in 1 minute, we would do 7 miles on top and 45 minutes on the bottom. We can solve this the same way with division. 7 divided by 45 will give us the answer. So let's just do that. 7 divided by 45 is going to be a very different answer. Yeah, 0.15 repeating. I'm just going to say 0.16 miles per minute. Now you may be asking yourself, well, which one's correct? Is this one correct or is this one correct? You know what? They're both correct. It just depends on what information you want to find. All right, let's go on. Let's read now. Unit rates with fractions are more difficult. Well, yeah, the fractions add another layer, right? But there are several techniques for computing them. We'll focus on the technique that uses division. Okay, and that's what we were doing right there. You're just taking the top number and dividing it by the bottom number. Now, imagine for a second that the top number was a fraction and the bottom number was also a fraction. And that's what we're talking about doing today. So let's keep reading. To divide two fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Okay, now a lot of you have probably learned a different name for the same technique. I always call it keep, change, flip. In other words, keep, change, flip. And whenever I see that, I always think KFC. It's not exactly the same, but oh man, now I'm craving that fried chicken. Oh goodness. Okay, so keep, change, flip. If you don't know how to do keep, change, flip, no worries. I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay, and then it goes on to say we always try to cross cancel. So that's just that technique where you are simplifying the fraction before you even do the multiplication. Now it says we always try to do it. Yeah, it's a good idea to do because it can save you work on the end simplifying your fraction. Are you required to do it? No, you're not. So just see what we're doing and take it or leave it, okay? Let's see. This makes sure the end result is already simplified. Yeah, so that's the point of the cross-canceling. Let's keep going. It says find the unit rate of the following problems using division of fractions. Since these are story problems, make sure to choose the best way to write the answer. Okay, let's read example 1. A faucet can put out 3/4 of a gallon in 2/5 of a minute. Okay, what's the question they're asking? What is the flow rate in gallons per minute? All right, so let's think about how to solve this. And actually, I have a little cheat sheet, not really a cheat sheet, but some notes for your steps for solving these. So step 1, if you have any mixed numbers, you need to change them to improper fractions. As you remember, a mixed number is like where you have a number out in front and then a fraction, something like that. And what is an improper fraction? Well, there's nothing improper about it. It just means the top number is bigger than the bottom number. The numerator is bigger than the denominator. Let me get my words straight there. So if we were going to change this to an improper fraction, just as an example, you would go 4 times 3, which equals 12. And then you add the 12 plus the 3, and you would get 15. And you would still have the same number on bottom, so it would be 15 over 4. So now here we have changed this mixed number into an improper fraction. Okay, so now this has nothing to do with this problem. It was just an example. So let's get back to this problem. So do we have any mixed numbers to change to improper fractions? No, that's normal and that's normal. So we're good on step 1. Now we have to decide which one's going to go on top when we build our ratio. And we have a really excellent hint about that right here. When it tells us the flow rate we're finding is gallons per minute, that is going to mean the gallons go on top and the minutes go on bottom. Okay, so I'm going to just write that down. Gallons, and I'm leaving space here to write my fractions, okay? And then minutes on the bottom. All right, so let's fill out our ratio. So how many gallons was it? 3/4 of a gallon. Okay, all right, 3/4 up here. And how many minutes was it? It was blah, 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 in 2/5 of a minute. So I'll write my 2/5 right down here. Okay, so now we have this big fraction with fractions. What do we do with it? Well, when you want to divide, what we want to do with it is take this number and divide it by that number, just like we did up here. So how do we do that? That's where keep, change, flip comes in handy. So we're going to keep this number. Okay, since we're keeping it, I'll write it down. Change, well, what does that change mean? It means change the operation. Right now we're thinking division, but we're going to change that to multiplication. So I'm going to write a dot. Okay, and now the flip part applies to this number, the one that we're dividing by. So we're going to have to flip that upside down. In other words, find its reciprocal. So I'm going to put now the 5 on top and the 2 on bottom. Okay, so keep, change, flip. We're done with that. Let's check and see if there's anything to cross cancel. In this case, there's not. I'll show you more about cross-canceling later. And let's do our multiplication. 3 times 5 gives us 15. And 4 times 2 equals 8. Is there any simplifying now that we can do with 15 over 8? No, and I want you to keep it as that improper fraction. You do not need to change it back to a mixed number. So now we just need to write the units. So 15 over 8 gallons per minute. And you could write it out in words like we have here, or you can say gallons per minute like this with the little slash. All right, and that is how we solve that. So this right here is the answer. Let's go on to the next example. I'm going to move this just a little bit so that we can actually see our words here, because that's kind of important. Okay, it says Joey Chestnut is a competitive eater who can eat 1 1/3 buffalo wings in 1/6 of a minute. Here we go on with food again. We were just talking about KFC, now we're talking about buffalo wings, and I don't know about you, but I am definitely getting hungry. It says, then how many wings can he eat per minute? Okay, cool. So we've got 1 1/3 buffalo wings, 1/6 of a minute, and then how many wings per minute can he eat? Okay, let's look at our little 1, 2, 3 steps. It says, step 1, changed mixed numbers to improper fractions. Do we have any mixed numbers here? Yeah, we do, right here. 1 1/3 is a mixed number. So let's change that to an improper fraction. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. So this is going to become 4/3. Okay, so you always multiply this number by that number and then add that number to it. And whatever number was on the bottom, you keep it the same. Okay, so we have 4/3 buffalo wings. 1/6 of a minute. Do we need to change that one? No, it's just a normal fraction. So going on to step 2, decide which number goes on top. All right, so what does the problem ask for? It asks for wings per minute. So we're wanting wings on top. I'll leave room for my fraction here. And minutes on bottom. Okay, so how many wings? Looks like it was 4/3 wings. Let's put that right here. And how many minutes? It was 1/6 of a minute, so we're going to put that right here. Okay, we've built our giant fraction with fractions in it. Now, step 3, keep, change, flip. So this is what we keep. I'll write it here. This is what we change. This line, it means division, right? So we're changing that into multiplication by using a dot. And this number is what we flip. So instead of 1/6, we're going to make it 6/1. Okay? Now we're going to check for some cross-canceling. We're cross-canceling, you always look at the diagonal numbers. So we're going to look at the 4 and the 1, and we're going to look at the 6 and the 3. Now, if it was a fraction that said 4/1, could you simplify that? No. What if there was a fraction that said 6/3? Could you simplify that? Yeah, both of those numbers are divisible by 3. So we can go ahead and kind of do that ahead of time and get a head start on the simplifying after we solve this. So let's divide both of those numbers by 3. 6 divided by 3 is going to give us a 2. 3 divided by 3 gives us a 1. All right, and now we're going to go 4 times 2. It's going to equal 8. And then 1 times 1 is going to equal 1. That looks so blurry. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to hit the focus button. I don't know. Is that better? Maybe. But our answer here is 8/1, and that is going to represent how many wings per minute he can eat. Wings per minute. You could also write 8 wings per minute. I mean, that's how we talk, right? How many wings can you eat per minute? Oh, I can eat 8/1. It just doesn't make sense, does it? All right. So that's your answer. 8 wings per minute. And now let's just take a look at 1 or 2 problems on the assignment. I'm going to grab this, take it with me. Here's the first page of the assignment. Okay, what should we do? How about number 3 with this garbage truck? So I'll put my thing right here. Okay, let's read the problem first. A garbage truck collects 2 3/4 tons of garbage every 1 1/4 of an hour. How much garbage does it collect in an hour? Now, if you're feeling brave and you want to pause this video and solve it yourself and then come back and see if you got the answer right, that might be kind of fun. Do that if you want to do it. If you want to hit pause, go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go to my steps, and it looks like step 1 is change the mixed numbers to improper fractions, so let's do it. Okay, 2 and 3/4, that's definitely a mixed number. Let's change it to improper. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. So that's going to become, oh, whoops, I wrote it wrong. 11 and still over 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. Yeah, okay, good. So 11 over 4 for the garbage. And then 1 and 1/4, is that a mixed number? Yeah, let's change it also. Okay, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And we still are going with a 4 on the bottom, and that's of an hour. 5/4 hours. Okay, so we've changed those to improper fractions. Check. Now we need to figure out which number goes on top. So it says, how much garbage does it collect in an hour? So that's like garbage per hour. So we're going to put garbage on top. Maybe tons. You could write either one. And then on bottom, we're going to do hours. All right, now let's just fill in our blanks a little bit. What is our amount for garbage? It was 11/4. Let's write it down. 11/4. And our amount for hours? 5/4. Okay, 5/4 on bottom. All right, now we have our gigantic fraction with fractions in it. It is time for keep, change, flip. So what do we keep? We keep the 11/4. Great. What do we change? We change division to multiplication. And what do we flip? We flip the 5/4. It's going to become 4/5. Okay, so now before I multiply, I'm just going to look for an opportunity to cross cancel. If you'd rather multiply first, you can, and then simplify later. It is up to you. But I'm seeing this 4 and this 4 here. Both of those are divisible by 4, so let's just do it. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. So both of those become a 1, and this is going to make our life easier here in a second. So 11 times 1 is 11. And 1 times 5 is 5. All right, so that's our answer. 11/5 tons of garbage. You could just write garbage, or you could just write tons. Either way is fine. Tons of garbage per hour. So that's how much garbage it collects per hour. Okay. If you feel ready to do your work, go ahead and do it. That would be great. If you want to stick with me for one more example, then that is awesome too. We're going to go over number 11. It says 5/6 of a hot dog in 1/3 of a minute. And here's our steps. So are there any mixed numbers to change to improper fractions? Nope. They are both already just normal fractions. Cool. So decide which number goes on top. Okay, so we're talking about hot dogs per minute, right? You could say, well, I want to figure out how many minutes it takes to eat one hot dog. That makes sense too. But because the order in this problem is listed this way, I'm going to go for hot dogs per minute. Okay, so let's do it. So hot dogs on top, minutes on bottom. So how many hot dogs was it? It was 5/6. And how many minutes was it? It was 1/3. Okay, last step. Let's keep, change, flip. We're going to keep the 5/6. We're going to change division to multiplication. Make a nice dot there. And we're going to flip the 1/3. It's going to become 3/1. Okay, before I multiply, I'm going to look for an opportunity to cross cancel. So I'm looking at the 5 and the 1. There's nothing that both of those are divisible by, except for 1. That's not going to help us. What about the 6 and the 3? Yeah, those are both divisible by 3, right? So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, now we multiply. 5 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 1 is 2. So it looks like 5/2 hot dogs, I'm just going to write HD, per minute is our answer. Okay, so that's how you do it. Guys, if you have questions, let me know or join a study session. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.